Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out something called Super Audio Spectrum, the simple little first-person runner game with a fantastic soundtrack, and this is basically proof positive that some good production values and a really good soundtrack can actually elevate what is generally a pretty simple gameplay mechanic to something a little bit more interesting than that. I should warn you, of course, before we get started, there are some issues with flashing lights, of course. If you have any issues with photosensitivity or epilepsy, probably be aware of that. I'm not going to say they're super bad, but you know, what you're seeing on the title screen here is roughly indicative of what you'll expect. But if that's all good, then I guess we'll go ahead and jump right into things. This was basically the perfect thing for the mood I was in today, which is like, I want something kind of bite-sized and involving dexterity, and something without too much, complexity going on. So, you know, sometimes a niche sort of game like this fits the groove perfectly. So let's press jump and start, and off we go. So we've got this path of transparent little blocks that we're going to be running across here over a really quite interesting and colorful bit of rainbow spectrum stuff going on the top and bottom of the screen. Now, as you'll notice, the character seems to be sort of running spastically along these, and you'll hear this little percussive beat happening as I run along, and I'm not sure actually if that's supposed to be my footsteps or if that's actually just part of the song that's activated by me running on those paths. I'm kind of hoping that it's just the percussion and that me stepping on the pad sort of, adds a little bit of musicality to the interactivity involved in this game. But I was thinking, at first when I saw the name of the Super Audio Spectrum, I was kind of under the false belief, or maybe just my mind jumping to crazy conclusions, that we would maybe be able to bring our own music into this and it would create like some kind of wave that we could run along. And, well, I guess we've already seen games like that, namely Audio Surf. But I haven't really seen a first-person one with that concept yet, as far as I'm aware. My goal, if you're wondering, by the way, is I need to reach 200 points, and that will allow me to unlock another song. Thankfully, the song that's given to me is actually quite lovely, and I really do enjoy listening to it. I kind of wish it didn't loop, though, which is a little conundrum that I seem to have found a lot of games recently have been solving. It used to be a thing where almost always it was expected if you are playing a game and you lose, the music resets, and then it's sort of like you started over and over and over and over again. But eventually, that wears you down a little bit. And it seems like the common thing nowadays is most developers just sort of let the music just play in the background, and your attempts just kind of go unhindered by the music changing over and over again, which I think is probably the better way to go, because you don't end up with these stops and starts and sort of strange momentum sense going on here. If you couldn't notice also, our character drastically speeds up over the course of the 170 or so points that I've been able to accrue so far. It's so much to the fact that by the time we get near that 200 point, I almost don't have enough ability to stay grounded. I mean, I'm basically trying to stay in the sky as much as possible just to keep transitioning between platforms. But it doesn't happen instantaneously, so I actually have to be planning well in advance, and I can't actually believe that I'm still alive. Yeah, no. I was totally off on that. You've got to stay way to the back of some of these platforms, otherwise you're going to end up falling right off before you even know what's going on. Reminds me a little bit of Boson X as well. I was kind of hoping maybe it would take more of that approach too. Maybe things would start flying around towards the latter half of the game. Well, I guess I don't know, to be perfectly honest. I haven't gotten beyond 175 points, which I think is toward the better end of the score spectrum from what I've seen in the leaderboards. Believe it or not, I mean, the game is fairly difficult, but also fairly accessible too. I do wish the music could have been maybe a little bit more integrated into the jumping experience. Not really sure how that would happen exactly, but right now it seems like all you've got is opacity on these platforms, really the only musical representation going on, and perhaps that little percussive thing too. I also was thinking too, it seems a little bit like a wasted opportunity to have the player make sort of a gasping sound on every jump instead of have something that sort of interacts better with the music. Right now it just seems a little distracting, since you're going to be jumping constantly, to have to hear that little sound over and over again. When it could have actually been something that's, playing a role in the development of the musical track. Oof. Alright, that was a little unfortunate. Kind of botched that one. In general, the controls feel pretty good. I mean, as long as you stay towards the edge of the platform on one side or the other, you shouldn't run into too much difficulty. So if you could just sort of stay, right in that little corner, As long as you know you're going to be jumping back and forth, just give it the tiniest little tap and you'll make it right across the border. And there's enough air friction that, in general, you don't need to sort of overcorrect too much, which is really good. I mean, that's a thing that I really value in a game where there's first-person platforming or platforming in general. Controls need to be pretty on for it to all kind of work together. As I'm playing this more and more, I'm thinking, like, I mean, most of the concepts I've seen done here, I've seen done in several other games, and it's really a lot to do with just the presentation quality and the soundtrack that's making me interested in this. I mean, I am quite into the whole, you know, strobing, psychedelic thing going on the floor and ceiling, but I kind of wish it was more integrated also into the gameplay somehow. Maybe as you get further into the game, like, more and more of these bits from the sky will start to, like, rain down, or, you know, somehow the graphics will kind of overlay themselves into what's your immediate experience as you're jumping through this. And of course, you know, having other obstacles wouldn't hurt as well later on, but, you know, I don't want to overcomplicate things either. I do quite like the simplicity of this, and maybe that's sort of the other element. A lot of the games that I have looked at in the similar genre have almost just straight up overcomplicated things at times. And I think what's done here is something that's very accessible in that, you know, once you understand the premise right away, you pretty much get how to play this continuing on much further. The only goal here now just becomes, can you keep yourself low to the ground long enough? Oh, that was close. Thought I was going to have it that time. But yeah, I think if you could just kind of stay away from staying up in the air as much as possible, you should have an okay chance of getting through this. And just keeping your jumps very careful and controlled. I'm kind of curious to know, like, how will it get harder after 200, because at this point, like, I don't see myself keeping up much further. That was just a straight-up throw. Where we are right now is, like, about the threshold of what I think I'm able to do with this, unless I somehow gestalt and get, like, much, much better at managing my ability to see forward. And I think, you know, that was another issue I've had with games like this in the past. This one lets you see just far enough ahead that I think I don't have too much of an issue with draw distance. I think a lot of the other ones have had things sort of obscure your view forward, and I think that's super important to be able to see what you're doing to try and plan your moves accordingly. I'm starting to wonder too if I should be trying to skip some of these gaps. Oh man, we're going all the way left that time. Well, that answers another question that I had is this generated every single time? And, you know, I hadn't played it enough times yet to really see, but the fact that we had a situation where we just kept going left says pretty much definitely, yeah. Well, that also kind of changes my opinion on the thing, too, because that does mean that you don't have to just memorize this, which I appreciate, and allows for some much more interesting gameplay, although now we have that same thing again. Am I just a big old dingo and just forgot that I did that every other time? Maybe it's possible, I don't know. So yeah, when do I cross into the momentum threshold of being able to just skip that gap? Well, I guess that was it right there. So that's probably going to be a thing that I need to make sure I do. Oh, I did it! I crossed 200. That was my goal for the video, is to see if I could make it past that. And apparently it was supposed to unlock a new song. I did not see any new song unlock or any notifications that I have done such a thing. Maybe it was actually 250? Regardless, well, I think you get the idea. This is Super Audio Spectrum. I didn't want this video to go on for too long anyway. Oh, change song left controller or joystick button 3. Okay, I don't think I saw that last time, so let's hit left control. Oh, this is super sweet. No, change. Wait, are there more than 2 now? No, it's just the 2. I think it just starts up in different places on occasion. Okay, I love this music. Whatever this, I guess you call this chiptunes. I was gonna say whatever you call this genre exactly. It just, like, it feels so epic to me. I don't use that word very often, but it really does fit gameplay for a game like this. And it reminds me so much of, like, all of those sort of illicit applications that people use for various reasons that I probably shouldn't get into super great detail about. But it has that same vibe. It's like, oh, are we doing something secretive here? Is there wonder ahead? I don't know. Also, this is totally a different song now. Does it just pick, maybe it just picks a random song every time I hit the button, which is why I was getting the same one a couple of times. I think it should probably toggle through them instead if that's the case, but I didn't notice this song being a thing a second ago, so... Good stuff. I don't want to belabor this for too long, but I think you get the idea. go check out Super Audio Spectrum if you'd like to give it a shot, see how far you can get on the leaderboards. Make sure you post your high scores if you don't mind in the comments. I'd be curious to hear what you have to say about it, and of course weigh in on the music as well as the gameplay if you don't mind. You can play this either in your browser as a download, so whatever suits you most. It is a Unity game, so you should have all of that stuff built in. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. I do appreciate it very much. I will be back, of course, again tomorrow for another episode, and if you're into it, be sure to come on back and see what we find. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope you have a fantastic night. Talk to y'all later.